was out here doing this afternoon. Got a milk jug. I had dipped up some ammonia. And in this jungle behind me, there's some pumpkin plants. And I was scattering some fertilizer around them. But what I wanted to show you right behind me is wild lettuce. See these serrated looking, I call them serrated there. The way these leaves look. Watch this plant right here. Get zoomed in where you can see. You see that white liquid? Right there where that leaf broke, you can see it good. Anyway, this is wild lettuce. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna harvest some of this. Tell you a little funny story. Yesterday, I'm out walking around scouting a ditch up here on our property for some mink sign, thinking about putting out some traps. And I decided that I was 15 again. And I attempted to jump across this branch, and it's about 7 to 8 foot across it. Not really, and I didn't have no trouble making it. I jumped across it. But in the landing, I turned my ankle over pretty good. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position just to be able to sit in the house all day. We've got pottery to make and stuff going on out here that's just got to be done. And there's nobody to do it but me, my wife, and my daughter. So they doing what they got to do, and I got out and I'm been at it all day cut the grass, and I got to ride the lawnmower, so that's fairly easy. Didn't hurt, but my ankle's hurting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and we're gonna boil some of this down and make us a concoction. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you how to do this. I'm gonna just let you merely watch what I'm gonna do. I'm not suggesting that you go home and do this, because if you harvest a plant, you need to know what you're harvesting. And I'm no expert, so I'm not going to attempt to tell you that I know for a fact what you need to do. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing, and you just be entertained by what I'm doing, and what you do, you on your own with. Look back here, this tall plant, this one is a real good, I don't know, it's a good 8 foot tall. I'm almost 6 foot. So, but we're not going to harvest all of it. And notice back in here in the background, I don't know if you can see, back down in here, right there, there's a small one coming up. There's one there. I want to point out something else that I'm not 100%. Some of you that know more about this stuff, I want you to comment on here when you watch this if you know a little more about it than I do. I noticed that a lot of times when I find one of these plants, right beside it, there'll be one with, just like it, with oval-shaped leaves. That's something that I have not been, and I never harvest those because I know that these right here work for what I'm doing. I'm not sure about the oval-shaped leaves, like right here. You look at these leaves. This grows right beside it. Has all the same characteristics. See that sap coming out of there? It has an oval-shaped leaf. Now this right here on the same plant, this one actually has a serrated leaf. I would be comfortable in taking this one. But some of them I found was a large plant, and it had here's one similar to it. See, this leaf right here is oval-shaped. It has no jagged edges. It is nothing like this leaf. So, maybe the same plant. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know it, see, when I cut it on the stem, wicks just the same. So I'm not I think this is the same plant. I'm just not 100% sure, so I'm not gonna harvest it. If somebody knows for a fact, watching this video, that is the same plant, let me know. This right here is poke salad. We may do a video on it later on. I'm gonna do some experimenting with it. I've never personally cooked it. I've eaten it many times, but there's an older lady in the community that usually cooks it for me. I've never actually cooked it, but I know how I've been told how, I've just never done it. So I may experiment with it. But we're gonna harvest some of this, take it back with us. We'll cut you in on the next part of our video here shortly. Y'all, you're just gonna have to excuse all my junk. If you live on a homestead, you know you only got limited places to put stuff. So what I did though, and this is pea seed I'm drying, but I tied this up in the rafters of this shed. This is that wild lettuce. We're gonna let some of this hang. Now I've got some more around here that I'm doing something different. I'm fixing to show you. But I was just gonna show you right quick. I'm gonna let that hang under here. Let it dry out good. All right, for the sake of time, what I did is I stripped the leaves off. I cut up just a few stalks. I didn't put all the stalks now. I'm saving some of the other stalks, the bigger ones. But what I did is I cut this up, and then I put about 2 gallons of water in there. Now there's about 5 large plants that's about 6 foot tall. I stripped all the leaves off. I just packed the leaves down here best I could. As that water goes down, as it warms up, they'll sink down in there. So I didn't cover, I seen somebody said to cover the amount of plants you put in there with twice as much water. Well, if you grind those plants up, they condense down to a lot less than I would have had to have filled this slam to the top, and it would have made this weak. So I put about 2 gallons of water in here, and there's about, like I said, about 5, 6 foot tall plants that I stripped all the leaves and put the tops in there. We've got this extremely low. This is just my old fish cooker, but see, it ain't really blowing. It's just barely on. So what it's doing is just warming that water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this simmer a little while with our makeshift lid right here. Put that heavy board on there. That'll keep the steam and all in there, and I'm sure a little of it can get out. All right. Dogs is playing a little rough out there. You all right, boy? Anyway, they'll be all right. One of them yelped. Stuff keeps coming up on my screen. What I was gonna do, we had this cooking about 2 hours. I was gonna let you see what it looked like. Kind of hard to tell, but it's getting dark. It's not as dark as we want it. It's probably good right now to drink for a tea, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dip me about a half of this cup full, and I'm gonna taste it here. Let it cool just a second. But what I'm gonna do is I got some jars and some lids, and I'm gonna put it in there while it's hot. And you put this stuff in there while it's hot, you basically canning it. If you fill this jar up to somewhere along in here, these are top lids. What we'll do is we'll seal that down tight, let it sit here on this thing, and as it cools, it'll basically can itself. So we're gonna experiment with that. I've never done this like this before, but we're gonna do it and get back with you. I've been hobbling around. I found me a pretty cool stick to kind of hobble on. I had to go pick some string beans and butter beans. Got me what do you think about my walking stick there? It was dried laying out there, already dead. Good stick there. Got a good hook on it. I can pick up stuff with it. I like finding stuff. I collect sticks. And then one day they rot and I throw them away. got a bitter taste to it. I'm trying to think of how I can describe the taste. It's not a strong bitter, and it definitely has a strong taste compared to things that you like, but it's not like an overwhelming strong bitter taste. Now, obviously you're not drinking this to sit back and just enjoy a cup of tea. You're drinking it for the medicinal purposes of it. I'm personally drinking it for the pain relieving qualities in it, and I'll get back with you whenever we drink this and see how it's gonna do. Now, I did make a mistake that I don't know how much difference it's gonna make. While I was picking beans, I had this extremely low, but it was boiling when I come back up here. Now, it wasn't boiling hard, but it was boiling a little bit, and from what I've researched, you don't want it to boil. You want it to just simmer. So I don't know, maybe if they're like the carry-on in it, maybe weakened by this, or maybe it evaporates out. Now, I did have this board over it, so it wasn't a lot of steam coming out. I didn't lose much if I lost, any, and it hadn't boiled long. I've been trying to keep a close eye, but it did boil a little bit. So I'm curious as to what that's going to do to it. But we're not going to drink no overwhelming amount of this. Like I said, the first time you experiment with anything, if you do, and I'm not telling you need to go do this by any means. You make up your own mind. If you do any of this, you're doing it at your own risk. But I wouldn't consume very much of anything. In fact, the first time that I did this, I took a leaf and I chewed the leaf up and made sure, because even if it's healthy for other people to consume something, you may have an allergic reaction to it. So you don't want to consume a large quantity of anything right off the bat. You want to make sure that you just sample something, and one good way to experiment is rubbing things on the tender parts of your skin, anywhere that between your fingers, anywhere that you would break out from something pretty quick, or it would get irritable and start itching and things. One of my things, I'm probably not good advice, but I taste stuff, and I mean, I just a small portion, not enough to kill anybody, and maybe not even consume it. If I'm sure, now with mushrooms, I don't put them in my mouth till I know for sure what that is. But I have heard that if you chew something up just a little bit and then spit it out, that you can tell on your tongue pretty quick if it's going to have a negative effect on your body. But when I put something inside of my body, I'm pretty sure that I know what I'm talking about, or I have researched it. Mike Reed has some good videos on YouTube on this stuff. Go check out his videos. Mike Reed Outdoors, I believe it is, and he gives some pretty good descriptions of how to find it, how to use it, and has some different ways. I know some people smoke it, different ways. They make tonics out of it with alcohol, and I'm gonna agree with some of the others that I've heard. I personally don't smoke anything. I just don't. I have smoked in the past, smoked for a long time. I was an alcoholic for a long time, drank every day heavy. Miraculously, I have to say the good Lord delivered me from that, and I will never go back to that. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't drink. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to nobody, but I ain't gonna condemn you for drinking if you want to have a drink or whatever, but I do know it has negative effects on you, and it consumed my life, and when I got away from it, I don't want to fool with it no more. I like being sober. But this I am doing for the medicinal purposes of this. I'm like Phil Robertson with Duck Dynasty said, I don't take very many pharmaceuticals. I take a Tylenol occasionally if I've got a headache, or I'd really rather prefer a BC powder, but if I can find something natural from the woods and I can use that, that's what I had rather do. There's a lot of medicine. I have several medicinal plant books. I recommend you get some. If you're interested in this type of thing, definitely get you some books and read some literature. Another suggestion is I would have paper knowledge on everything that I researched, and if I found things on the internet, I would write them down in a notebook or something, because we may not always have this internet one day. We may not have YouTube videos that we can look up and know how to research a plant and know what plant we're looking for. And I'll tell you something else. Anything that you learn in knowledge is only valuable once you start practicing it. And that's on not a daily basis, but pretty regular. You need to know how to build fire without a lighter and make things. You need to know how to make a garden produce. Don't wait till it's necessary and you've got to live off the land to start learning how to do it then. You need to already know how. And you need to already have some resources. You need to be keeping with some traps and seeds and have water, a water source, and these things that you just need to be acquiring. Hand tools is going to be a great value one day. If things go downhill, and I foresee it happening eventually. Now, it may be years in the future, but I foresee us having to go back and live off the land again. There's just too many evil people in the world that want to destroy it, and I'm not going to point fingers or try to name groups, but you just need to know how to do some of this stuff. So that's why this knowledge, share it while we can. We have YouTube and the internet, and you need to use that right now while you have it. But you need to write some of this knowledge you learn, but you need to experiment with it yourself. And if you decide to consume these plants, you need to research it enough you know what you're looking at. And there are a lot of plants that are very similar. So you need to make sure you've got the right one before you decide to start consuming anything. But I've tried to stand here and talk a little while so you can see if this had an immediate effect on my body after I drank it. Nothing, tongue kind of chalky, a little tasting, but I think that's out of the plant itself. But you can tell this tea is fairly dark. Which, now this cup is a cream looking colored cup. One of my teacups I got in a set at a yard sale. I like yard sales. I recommend everybody go to yard sales. Find some pretty cool stuff that way. But anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna prop my walking stick over here back up. We're gonna see if we can get this ankle quit hurting, and we're gonna let this simmer here for a little while longer, and then we're gonna put it in these jars and see if we can store it. Have some later on, but we're not gonna consume more than about a cupful at a time at any given time. Y'all have a good one. Thank y'all for watching this video. If you like it, like these videos, comment on it. If you have questions, comment. If you have suggestions for me, if I'm doing something you think I'm doing it wrong, let me know. I'm trying to learn some of this stuff as I go. I'm trying to bring you along with me as I learn. So we'll learn together. If I do something that don't work, I'll tell you it don't work. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.